Well, ladies and gentlemen, in case you were wondering, Jackson Stratton is the king of Iowa backup quarterbacks. A walk-on transferring from Colorado State comes in and plays a couple snaps in the Rose Bowl 2 weeks ago, and this week he starts the game. His passing numbers, not super impressive. We'll get into it today. Iowa's 29-13 win over Maryland. Could this be the start of a revolution of Iowa quarterbacks? Let's hop right. Alright, so we got some soft background music going. Caleb Johnson going to open up the first quarter with a nice run here. Iowa opens and receives with the ball. Stratton's going to complete his second pass of the day to Gill for a first down. Very nice. I didn't actually get to see, so I was at basketball practice. But another handoff here to KJ2, breaking tackles, and I actually think here on this drive, Iowa fumbled. Yes, Kamari Moulton. Oh, this is not good. So Caleb Johnson again down to the 10. So then this next play here, Iowa's going to hand it off, Stratton's going to get sacked, and then that is just not a good sack. So I actually didn't watch this piece of the game, but a nice job there by Maryland getting themselves a sack. I mean, it's tough to sack these Hawkeyes. Let's see what else happened. So this is that handoff. Kamari just fumbles it, and the Terps pick it up at the 11. A horrible play. Just a horrible play on Kamari's part. I mean, you cannot make that up. That is a horrible fumble. And Maryland just recovers. Look at it. He just drops it. Oh, my goodness. And if you think about it, the amount of points Iowa scored could have been a lot more if Kamari would have not have fumbled this ball. Again, just not a good fumble, but Iowa will get the ball back, and Caleb Johnson just doing Caleb Johnson things, rips a hole for about a 15-yard gain there. Iowa didn't really have too many explosive plays, but this was a beautiful pass on 3rd and 8 by Jackson Stratton to Jarrett Bowie. He was 3 for 3 to start the game, and that one is just an absolute dime. Gonna hand it off here to Johnson on 3rd and 7. Going to get 2 yards, and Iowa will open up the game late in the first quarter with a field goal. Drew Stevens, he's had an amazing season, and let's have the Stevens field goal kicking counter 1. All right, haven't really had too many Iowa defensive plays, but we have another offensive play. Beautiful rollout here to Addy Stringa. That was, I believe, Stratton's biggest pass play of the day for about 17 yards, and just a beautiful job here. He looks so natural there on that rollout. And Addison Stringa, just beautiful job getting it. 3rd and goal. Stratton gonna hand it off. Caleb Johnson, touchdown, and the single season scoring record is broken. Congratulations to KJ2, number 21 on the season. I mean, obviously this season has been special for Caleb Johnson. He scored at least 1 touchdown in every single game, and it just seems like he's just so automatic. I mean, he just finds the end zone. More Iowa offensive plays, a beautiful rollout for Lachey for a first down. I mean, I don't really think they've shown any Maryland offensive plays so far, but up 10-0 here with 1:08 left to go. Iowa had this really weird delay of game penalty that I did not like. It set up a long field goal here. You'll see after Iowa just handed it off. It sets up a long field goal here for Drew Stevens. But guess what? The Drew Stevens kicking counter, remember, he had a 54-yarder against Northwestern back in 22. And let's see, from 54, Stevens absolutely drills it. Wow, that one was a beauty. Now, I know a lot of you guys remember those vibes from the Iowa State game, 13-0 at halftime. In this game, I mean, obviously it's not in Kenneck, but Maryland Stadium feels so old looking at it there. It's such a weird stadium. But more Iowa offensive plays. Haven't even seen a Maryland offensive play. That's which shows you what this game was like. And a beautiful run there for KJ2. Jackson started the second half 7 for 10, 61 yards. Better than Cade would do most times. This time Patterson was stuffed at the line here. And how about Drew on for another field goal? This time a 50-yard attempt. Kick on the way. It is good. Drew Stevens knocking these ones through the uprights. Finally, we have a Maryland offensive play. Billy Edwards started a nice drive for Maryland, and this one just kind of looked like Michigan State, some
Broken tackles off this fake handoff, Billy Edwards. Just a nice little screen pass off the fake handoff. But at this point, I mean, it's 13-0, but you never know. Iowa State did not end up well. Excuse me, it's 16-0. And here we go down the right sideline goes Maryland's running back. And here we go, Maryland now. Billy Edwards gonna fake the handoff, rolling out. Maryland was kind of destroying them on the ground on this drive. Their running back Ray. Some just good running there, and bam, right there. Billy Edwards, first down and 10. Edwards going to run it. This was the hit. Look at that hit by Xavier Wampa, and Edwards would go down after this hit. I mean, look at just Xavier Wampa just hit him hard and hit him tough, and that one was just right bang. And I mean, Wampa also got hit pretty bad, but good play there on the Hawkeyes secondary. Third and goal, Morris. Gonna search, gonna roll, gonna fire. Back of the end zone. It is caught. What a grab. And this game feeling familiar. Ty Felton is going off right now. I mean, just look at that play. He rolls out, bam, right there, wide open in the back of the end zone, and we have a ball game at 16-7. But 16-6. Excuse me. They would not get the 2-point conversion. Maryland would get a stop, but Drew Stevens, he has been the man all night. A 49-yard attempt. Can he hit his fourth tonight? It is on the way, and he absolutely drills it like an extra point right down the middle to end the third quarter.
Steph Curry as a field goal kicker.
The announcers comparing him to Steph Curry as a field goal kicker. Maryland actually wanted to make this game a good game. Iowa just wanted to get the win, up by 13 here. Maryland, a nice run. And Maryland just continued to lead these drives down the field. I mean, this was giving some Iowa State vibes off, right? And those two field goals kind of represent that touchdown that Iowa went for two and did not get. But here we go. In the pocket is Morris, and he winds up a long ball, but pass interference is the call of the play, and that was just a good call. Second and goal. Morris is going to find Ty Felton again. 2 receiving touchdowns on the day, and I mean, this just pads up Iowa's numbers. They've allowed so many receiving touchdowns this season, and just look at it again. Beautiful pass. And he just runs it in, and we have a ball game again, 6-point game. But Kamari Moulton wanted to do the duties, and look at this thing. He rips it home. Touchdown, Hawkeyes. Kamari Moulton's had 2 in the last couple of games. That looked like a Caleb Johnson run. Remember, Kamari was the starter earlier this season, and he makes it so Iowa gets their 26th point of the night. Brian Ferentz would have loved this last year. Have 26 games with 26 points with your 4th-string quarterback. Iowa, after a sick interception late in the game, is going to just hand it off here, not going to get it. And Drew Stevens is going to come on for his 5th field goal attempt. This one's just an extra point at this point, but he bakes it. He actually has one of his worster kicks on the night, but it's still good. And Drew Stevens' field goal counter up to 5. And so the Hawks come out of this with a 29-13 win with their 4th-string quarterback. They'll improve to 7-4. And
So, folks, let's go a little bit more in depth into Iowa's 29-13 victory over the Maryland Terrapins. My first initial takeaways is this: Jackson Stratton is the 5th-string quarterback at the beginning of the season, gets moved up to 4th after James Reeser. Gets moved to wide receiver, gets moved up to 2nd string after McNamara and Linus go out, and now gets the starter job. And over this 2-week period, I think it really shows how good of an offensive coordinator Tim Lester is, because Brian Ferentz had multiple seasons these last couple of years to get quarterbacks to play football, but none of the quarterbacks could score more than 26 points in conference games. Now, Jackson Stratton put up 29 this week. Back in Brian Ferentz's era, the most points Iowa had put up in a road conference game under a starting quarterback in the last couple of years was 51 in 2021 against Maryland with Spencer Petras. But since 2021, Brian Ferentz was not able to put up more than like 20 points on the road. I'm trying to think, man, of when Iowa scored a lot of points on the road in these last couple of seasons. I would say maybe 24 is the max. I mean, it's embarrassing where the Hawkeyes were at under Brian Ferentz. And so I think looking at Leicester taking a four-string quarterback and having him average more points than Brian Ferentz ever averaged. People said Iowa was just going to average in the low 20s this year. We're going to go over some stats in a second, looking at the points per game, points scored, total touchdowns. If Iowa can put up a couple more touchdowns against Nebraska and keep that 40-point home game streak going, it could be crazy. But let's jump right into those points per game.
So I'm sure we'll do this at the end of the season, but let's quickly put some numbers for Iowa's stats this year. Iowa obviously 7-4, that's 39th out of 134 teams. They're 5-3 in the conference with a win against Nebraska. They could be 6-3, which honestly, in my opinion, a pretty good conference record to have. They have scored 323 points per game this season. 323 points this year, which averages to 29.4 points per game, which is 55th out of the country, but they have allowed 195 points, which is 7.7 points per game. So pretty good for the Hawkeyes. Let's compare that to last year. And remember, we're only 11 games through. This is last year through 14. So this is last year's team. They were 10-4, which was 25th out of 133, so only 9 spots behind. They've lost 4 games again. 24th in the Final Four, 7-2 in their conference, pretty good. They only scored though 216 points, which goes out to 15.4 points per game. That was in 14 games, and they allowed 207 points. So they only scored 9 more points than they allowed, even though they were 10-4. But guys, how about that? 107 more points. And Iowa's 3 games behind this team. Iowa is going to play 13 games this year, so we'll see. As long as they can continue this streak going, Iowa, that points per game number is going to be really, really, really nice. Going to be in the upper 300s.
So that will do it. I hope you enjoyed our game recap of the Iowa Hawkeyes versus the Maryland Terrapins. The Hawkeyes just ripped the face mask off of the Terps as always. Got to do the little face mask rip off. That's what I really felt like what happened last night. And it was really fun to watch. Iowa plays Nebraska on Black Friday at 6:30. We'll have a recap Saturday morning in Kenneck. Not going to really do a preview that much. All I'm going to say, it's going to be a good one. Nebraska's not fighting for bowl eligibility anymore, which makes it so Iowa's got that advantage. We got to have the crowd show up. It's going to be a fun Iowa-Nebraska game, essentially fighting for playing for the Insight Bowl, the Insight Bowl, aka the Outback Bowl. Changed the names a couple years ago, but fighting for the ReliQuest Bowl, not the Insight Bowl. This is not the early 2000s. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Saturday. As always, go Hawks.